Okay, now we're ready to go. So tonight we're going to talk about paper 41, physical aspects of the local universe, and that's on page 455 in the original book. And let's say a little prayer and we'll get started. Diane, would you pray? You want me to finish getting set up here?
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this evening that we can gather together to study your word and to come to understand the wonderful plan you have for all of us throughout many, many different worlds. We're just amazed and grateful, and we thank you for everything that you have given to us and the information so that we can be at peace and share it with other people along the way to know how wonderful your plan is. It is in your name, Jesus Christ, Michael of Nebadon, we pray and give thanks. Amen.
Amen. Now I'm going to confuse y'all really good tonight. There is no way to do what I'm going to do tonight without it being difficult. I'm going to tell you. Right? So, but I want to go through these slides that I have on here. I added these years ago, but I want to go through these slides so that you understand what they're talking about when they're talking about the beings in this paper. Okay, and by going through these slides, it'll make it a little clearer, I hope. What do we have a table here? Move this around. Yes, move around. Okay. Physical aspects of the local universe. Gary, why don't you start reading for us tonight?
I knew if I got in here earlier, I'd have to pay a penalty. Okay. 41 physical aspects of the local universe. The characteristic space phenomena, which sets off each local creation from all others, is the presence of the creative spirit. All Nebadon is certainly pervaded by the space presence of the divine minister of salvation, and such presence, Salvington, and such presence just as certainly terminates at the outer borders of our local universe. That which is pervaded by our local universe, Mother Spirit, is Nebadon. That which extends beyond her space presence is outside Nebadon, being the extra Nebadon space regions of the super universe of Orbiton, other local universes.
Okay, so this is very important to understand. The local universe Mother Spirit is the mate to Michael, right? The creator son. Yes. And nothing is done in the local universe without both of them agreeing and working on it at the same time. So anytime it says the local universe Mother Spirit or Michael does such and such, that means both of them either agreed to it or both of them were supporting each other in it, right? Mm-hmm. And this is very important to understand that the local universe Mother Spirit, you see this picture down here? It seems like a little star right in the middle. And what they're trying to portray here is that the local universe Mother Spirit pervades everything in our local universe, but she doesn't go outside our local universe. It's only our local universe. And the other local universe Mother Spirits, all 699,000 of them in the super universe, are outside her purvey. Okay, all of them. So if you put all 700,000 local universe Mother Spirits, then you would have all of the 7th super universe and the 7th super universe only. Okay. And I'm going to read this down here at the bottom of this because it's got really good information. Michael of Nebadon is the 611,121st bestowal of the eternal Son, upon the universes of time and space. He began the organization of your local universe about 400 billion years ago. Not thousand, not million, but billion. 400 billion years ago. It was scarcely a million years subsequent to this epoch that Michael of Nebadon, a creator son of paradise, selected this disintegrating nebula, love my place, as the site of his adventure in universe building. Almost immediately, the architectural worlds of Salvington and 100 constellation headquarter groups of planets were begun. It required almost 1 million years to complete these clusters of specially created worlds. The local system headquarter planets were constructed over a period extending from that time to about 5 billion years ago. And the local universe mother spirit was here during all that time. Okay. So if you look at it this way, 400 billion years ago, he started. Okay. And it was up to just 5 billion years ago it took to create all the architectural spheres of all the constellation, all the planets of Salvington, all those architecture spheres that we eventually go to. Okay, so we're talking about a long drawn out process. You can see why we only have about 1/3 of the planets created right now in our local universe. We have 2/3 to go. He's been busy doing all these other things, right? And finishing his bestowals. Okay. I got some other things I want to bring to your attention before we get into all these other beings they're going to talk about in this paper tonight. All right. This is a picture of when our space region started from scratch, okay, before anything was, okay? And it says here, primordial force or pre-energy not responsive to direct paradise gravity. In other words, this area, this is before this area was responsive to paradise gravity. Okay, so it was out there on its own. It was just created by the unqualified absolute. All right. It says right next to it, a puissant energy. This is the powerful directional mass movement, mighty tensioned and forcible reacting energy, gigantic energy system set in motion by the activities of the primary force organizers. This primary or puissant energy is not at first definitely responsive to paradise gravity. Now, where do they get this from? These primary force organizers are handed this off from whom? The unqualified absolute, right? Do y'all remember the unqualified absolute? If we go back to this picture from before, there it is. The unqualified absolutes is one of the 7 absolutes. Okay. There's 7 absolutes in the makeup of our deity, and 3 of these are part of the Father. Actually, 4 of them if you include paradise. So the 7 absolutes are the universal Father, the original Son, the conjoint actor or infinite spirit, the qualified absolute, the universal absolute, and the unqualified. And then the 4th one is the Isle of Paradise itself. Okay, so what are they talking about here? They're talking about this unqualified absolute, and it's an unrevealed physical absolute. It has no deity. There's no deity involved in it as part of God Father. Okay? Now that I've really confused you. So the puissant energy is passed off from the unqualified absolute to these primary force organizers. Okay. All right. These force organizers transmute primordial force or pre-energy not responsive to paradise gravity into primary or puissant energy, and this energy transmuting from the exclusive grasp of the unqualified absolute to the gravity grasp of paradise. So this is how our local universe becomes connected to paradise. Okay, so the unqualified absolute starts it. He hands it off to one of these primary force organizers, and the primary force organizers do what? They connect it to the Isle of Paradise. Okay, all right. Then it says these force organizers are thereupon succeeded by the associate force organizers who continue the process of energy transmutation through the primary, through the secondary, or gravity energy stage. So this is where the gravity gets connected to it. You with me so far? Did I lose anybody yet? Okay. Then it says below it, master force organizers are the manipulators of primordial or basic space forces of the unqualified absolute, and they are nebulae creators. Okay, so if you want, why I brought all this into this is this: the forces that are out there in this nebulae, okay, are created through the unqualified absolute, the primary force organizers, and eventually to the master force organizers, and they manipulate these spaces and they turn into what? Nebulae. Okay,
That's the birth of everything.
so it's the birth of everything, really, in our local universe. And they have to do this for every single local universe. So each one of them is different. Okay. And then we're going to confuse it just one more slide and we'll be done with this. All right. The master force organizers are thereupon succeeded by the associate force organizers who continue the process of energy transmutation from the primary through the secondary or gravity energy stage. So these master force organizers connect to the gravity stage. All right. Who, like the associate force organizers, continue the process of energy transmutation from the primary through the secondary or gravity energy stage. And then if we go down to the one underneath it, gravity energy, the now appearing gravity response entities carries the potential universe power and becomes the active ancestor of all universe matter. You want to know where this Big Bang came from? All the stuff from the Big Bang? It wasn't a Big Bang. It was this right here. Okay, that's why I wanted to bring this up. So this prepares the nebulae for whom? Michael and the creative mother spirit, right? This gives them something to work with. All right. And we got one more little section. You see here, we have super universe centers, local universe centers, constellation centers, and system centers. Guess what these guys do? They actually work the force, right? That makes all this stuff. Okay, and it says here, upon the completion of the plans of the creation of the local universe, this is Michael's plans, signalized by the arrival of a creator son, the associate master force organizers give way to the orders of power directors acting in the super universe of astronomic jurisdiction. So they pass everything off to the super universe power centers. Okay. But in the absence of such plans, the associate force organizers continue on indefinitely in charge of these material creations, even as they now operate in outer space. What does this tell us? That means these associate force organizers, okay, hang on to all these local universes, keep them in the same state, growing along until they're assigned a creator son. They can't go any farther with it, right? So until it's assigned a creator son, a local universe mother spirit, it just is out there in the nebula and it just keeps going and it's indefinite, okay? Not until the creator son and the local universe mother spirit shows up does it actually start to take form. Make sense? So what do you think all these outer space levels are? They're in this stage right here. Okay. Because no creator sons and no local universe mother spirits have been sent out there yet to manipulate any of it. Okay.
So where do they exist while they're waiting?
In the area where the local universe will be.
I mean, all of them.
All of them. There's
Creator
assigned to each and every one of them. They hang out in that area and control everything till they come. Talk about a boring job, right? I mean, sitting there for gazillions of years waiting for the creator son to show up. Now, why did I go through all this and bring these slides in? Because if you know the origin of this, you understand why it's so important that the creator son, the local universe mother spirit, shows up in the nebulae, and that's how everything starts, right? Okay. 400 billion years ago, each one of these started, right? Okay, I feel like I've just been preaching.
Yeah.
Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
I have a comment.
Question? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
The way it seems to me like the local mother spirits
Right.
are like similar to a radio antenna that
Yeah.
broadcast to the edges of what will be her and Michael's universe.
Yeah, and she can only go out that far. Yeah, right.
It's like broadcasted out,
Right.
similar to radio.
Right. Yeah.
So the
You can-
present,
Parallel.
Right. Now, I want to bring up a point here too. You know, all the circuits that we discussed before for the mind circuit, the personality circuit, the circuit of the creator sons, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of Truth, all these circuits that everything goes out through, including the mind circuit, which is the 7 adjutants circuit, right? Without these beings going out, setting this up as power centers, there would be no circuit. And that's important because without those circuits, then she would not be able to do what? Permeate out into her local universe. Make sense? So the power centers that control all the physical matter, all the atoms and everything else, these power centers, without them, she would have no way to manipulate the materials because there would be no pathway to do that without the circuits. Make sense? Now, why is this important? You think about it, when we were severed from the local universe spiritual circuit for our planet, right? Certain spiritual things that were coming through that circuit were cut off, right? And it'll stay cut off until judgment, right, has happened and we come out of rebellion. So you can see the importance of why this is a terrible, terrible thing that you become unencircuited, okay? And a good example of that is what? Adam and Eve, right? Because even though the planet itself was disencircuited during the Lucifer rebellion, they were still encircuited as material sons and daughters through whom? The local universe mother spirit. Okay, so when they rebelled, what happens? They were cut off from her circuit also. So they lost all connection at that point. Make sense? So the wages of sin are very, very, very bad, right? You understand all this, you can see that. Yeah, Jane.
Well, I was thinking when you said that is even in the Bible, when it said they were banished, that was a true word.
Yeah, it was. It literally banished, right? Because they were cut off, right? You know, that's why that's why the angel of the garden said, wait a minute, Eve, you're fixing to default. Are you sure you want to do this? You know, she knew that she was fixing to make a decision that would not only affect her, but you know how sin is. When you sin, it affects everyone around you. You know, it affects all of us. And that's exactly what it did, right? So next time you want to go out and sin against somebody, think twice about it, right? Who's it going to affect? It's not just you, it's everybody else too, right? And we can see that result all over all over our planet right now, right? Okay. Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Yes. While the administrative organization of the grand universe discloses a clear-cut division between the governments of the of the central, super, and local universes. And while these divisions are astronomically paralleled in the space separation of Havana and the 7 super universes, no such clear lines of physical demarcation set off the local creations. Even the major and minor sectors of Orvanton are, parenthesis, to us, clearly distinguishable. But it is not so easy to identify the physical boundaries of the local universes. This is because these local creations are administratively organized in accordance with certain creative principles governing the segmentation of the total energy charge of a super universe, whereas their physical components, the spheres of space, such as suns, dark islands, planets, etc., take origin primarily from nebula, and these make their astronomical appearance in accordance with certain pre-creative (parenthesis transcendental) plans of the architects of the master universe.
Okay, so looking from the outside, you can definitely tell the difference between Havana and the 7 super universes. Would y'all like me to show you what they're talking about here?
Sure.
Let me go back to this one, the forward here, and go way back up here. And I'll show you exactly what they're talking about here. I can find it here. It's been a long time since I taught this one. Wait a minute, I probably could use that one. No, that's not as right. Here we go. This picture right here. What they're talking about is this. When you look at the 7 super universes from above, okay, you could see the definite demarcation of paradise, the planets surrounding paradise, and the 7 rings of Havana. It's as obvious as the nose on your face, okay? You can also see the 7 super universes. Now, why is it we can't see any of this? Think about this. Because this is a picture if you were looking from above down, right? Well, we're not from above, are we? We're out here in the 7th super universe, this one right here. See where my arrow is? You see that? And we're looking across it, right? So we see the super imposition of not only all these local universes, planets, worlds, and all this, like in the Milky Way, superimposed on one another all the way across. That's why when you look at the Milky Way, it looks like almost like a disc or an oval, right? Because you're looking across it. Huh?
It is disc shaped.
This shaped, if you think about it, right? And we're way out on the edge. So when we look across it, we just see hundreds and hundreds of thousands of planets, right? And we can only see to a certain point. There is no physical way we could see from out here on the edge all the way into paradise. It's just impossible, right? Too many planets in the way, too many things in the way. We couldn't get there. Plus, you remember, you got the inner gravity belt, the outer gravity belt of the dark space bodies, right? You can't even see past those. But you can see, because of our position in space, we can't see this, right? We can't even see the local universes that are closest to us and the organization of the local universes. They just seem to superimpose on each other everywhere, right? So it's hard for them to explain this to us and us be able to visualize it. That's why something like this is really nice, allows you to visualize it a little bit. All right. So that's what they're talking about here. And they're talking about this, not only the physical aspect of this, but the administration of the local universes is hard to distinguish between one local universe and another local universe, because they're administered so closely alike, and it's administered according to the plans of the architects of the master universe. Okay. And so it would be hard to tell them apart, even from just the administration. But this is not the case with Havona and the 7 super universes. They have definite demarcations, and they can tell the difference. To them, they see it easily. But to us, it's just a massive this and that and the other, right? Okay, let's go on. Let's, you want to take the next one for us? One or more, even many.
Sure. One or more, even many, such nebulae may be encompassed within the domain of a single local universe, even as Nebadon was physically assembled out of the stellar and planetary progeny of Andromener and other nebulae. The spheres of Nebadon are of diverse nebular ancestry, that they all had a certain minimum commonness of space motion, which was so adjusted by the intelligent efforts of the power directors as to produce our present aggregation of space bodies, which travel along together as a contiguous unit over the orbits of the super universe.
Okay, so it's not only the Andromener nebulae that everything came from. There were other nebulae that added to the space location of our local universe. So there's multiple nebulae involved in creating our local universe. Okay, and that's the point they're making here. And if it wasn't for the power directors, which we talked about just a little bit ago, if it wasn't the power directors moving these space bodies into position, there would be no organization or orbits in the local universe. Make sense? So it's not just haphazardly stuck out there and they put it together. There's a plan before it. All right. Jane, would you take the one sentence? I'm not going to let you off that easy, though. I'm going to make you do the next one too. All right. One
Okay.
sentence.
Such is the constitution of the local star cloud of Nebadon, which today swings in an increasingly settled orbit about the Sagittarius center of that minor sector of Orvonton, to which our local creation belongs.
So they're talking about our local systems in the system of Sagittarius and Orvonton, okay, the 7th super universe. Okay, would you take the next first paragraph there too, please?
Okay. 1. The Nebadon power centers. The spiral and other nebulae, the mother wheels of the spheres of space, are initiated by Paradise Force organizers and following nebular evolution of gravity response. They are superseded in super universe function by the power centers and physical controllers, who thereupon assume full responsibility for directing the physical evolution of the ensuing generations of stellar and planetary offspring. This physical supervision of the Nebadon pre-universe was, upon the arrival of our Creator Son, immediately coordinated with his plan for universe organization. Within the domain of this paradise Son of God, the supreme power centers and the master physical controllers collaborated with the later appearing Urantia power supervisors and others to produce that vast complex of communication lines, energy circuits, and power lanes which firmly bind the manifold space bodies of Nebadon into one integrated administrative unit.
Okay. So this gives you an idea how important the creator sons are, right? Before the creator son arrives, we have this pre-Nebadon nebulae, spiral nebulae, that was initiated by the Paradise Force organizers. This is before the creator sons. And that's what this picture is about. And the master force organizers come into this area, and according to the plans of the Paradise Son, they can't do anything until they get the plan of the Paradise or the Paradise Son, right? They're just there. But until they get the plan, they can't start the organization of the local universe. And that's what this picture is about. Now, the master force organizers go perpendicular to the emergent Andrometer, boy, I don't like that word, Andrometer nebulae. Okay, they go perpendicular, and that's what this picture is. And this is what it says. Subsequent to the initiation of such nebular revolutions, the living force organizers simply draw at right angles to the plane of the revolutionary disk. That the revolutionary disk is the nebulae, right? And from that time forward, the inherent qualities of energy ensure the progressive and orderly evolution of a new physical system. So they go perpendicular to it like this, according to the plans of the creator son, and then that's how everything started. It goes directly by the plan of the creator son. But until that point, there's no energy lines, no circuits, no nothing to organize this matter. Okay? So this is the beginning of everything for us. You know, when I've said many times before, the creator son is our concept of God. This is an example of how the creator son is our God, because without this action of the creator son, all that exists that we know of would not exist, would it? Okay, so he creates everything we know of. And who is God the Father then? He is the Father of the creator son, along with the eternal Son. They're both fathers of the creator son, right? Where did that come from? Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, Rodney, were you going to say something?
Go ahead, Jane, please.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you saying is the disc, as you called it, it's the material, the material.
Yeah,
and
right.
now you have the perpendicular coming, they're coming from, I'm calling it above for a lack of a better word.
That's a good term. Yeah, it's above it. Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, it is kind of continuing, you know, with that weave, with the vertical and the horizontal that keeps coming up in this book.
Yeah.
The vertical always reaching towards
God the Father.
heavens.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like there is something. more.
There's something to that all the time, right? Because
Mhm.
without that coming together, then the circuits can't spread out, right? The energy circuits, everything that makes everything, right? So
And the
it's this
pattern
coming,
continues.
and the pattern continues over and over and over and over and over again
But just in a different area.
in a different area. For each local universe, this happens. It's no different from one local universe to the other. What makes the local universe different? The plan of the creator son. So whichever creator son goes out to that area for a new local universe, the difference between the local universes is whatever plan that creator son and that creative mother spirit comes together and decides on, right? So kind of interesting, isn't it? All right.
I have a question.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Or,
Yeah.
so from what you just read, it sounds like it's the living force organizers are required to withdraw in order to get the disk to start revolving.
Revolving, right? Yeah.
Sort of top. With them withdrawing at a right angle, it must help it spin.
Yeah,
Or-
just it's like a top. You hit the top of the top and it spins, right? Well, that top part is the force organizers, right? The master force organizers.
They probably
Right.
leaving at the axis, right in the
Right.
middle.
Yeah, the difference is they don't go away. They hand it off to the power centers, right? Then the power centers come in. You know, we think that the power centers starts everything up and then they're gone. They're not. They don't ever leave, right? So if it wasn't for the power centers and each type of local super universe constellation and all these different things, if it wasn't for these centers being there all the time, the lines or the circuits of power would dysfunction. They would cease to exist, right? So you can see the importance of these guys. They work under the direction of the local universe mother spirit and the creator son, but they are essential parts of keeping things going, right?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Could they, all the different.
Turn your mic on so everybody can hear you. There, let me mute. Yeah.
With the creator sons, how would each creation be so different from the other? I mean, other than the location.
Can I answer
The
that?
risk, you can.
Let
Go
me see
ahead,
if I
Gary.
know what I'm talking about, okay?
Okay.
Each creator son is different as an individual. As an individual,
Sure.
they're going to
Person-
have different
Mhm.
tastes. Like I drive a Toyota truck.
Exactly.
My
Mhm.
friend drives a Ford, you know, so
Yeah.
therefore, you know, there is the answer. I believe it's in the
Create,
It is. It is.
creativity
Yeah,
of the individual.
That's right. And the fruition of whatever comes, the fruition of your Toyota or your Ford will depend on the personality of whoever created it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, when you go buy your Ford or your Toyota or whatever, what you're buying is the concept of a truck according to whoever developed it, right? So the local universes are kind of like the same way, right? It's according to the taste of whoever creates it, right? Even though they're trucks, they're both trucks, but they're different, right? Yeah, let's.
I was just saying that it's the personalities are all different in the universe.
Every one of them.
They have their own
Yeah.
choice what to do.
Yeah, they do. A lot of leeway there, right?
Right.
So the universes all look a little bit different. Okay, dear, you're up to read.
100 supreme power centers of the fourth order are permanently assigned to our local universe. These beings receive the incoming lines of power from the third order centers of Uversa and relay the down stepped and modified circuits to the power centers of our constellations and systems. These power centers in association function to produce the living system of control and equalization, which operates to maintain the balance and distribution of otherwise fluctuating and variable energies. Power centers are not, however, concerned with transient and local energy upheavals, such as sunspots and system electric disturbances. Light and electricity are not the basic energies of space. They are secondary and subsidiary manifestations.
Okay, did y'all catch that? Light and energy are secondary subsidiary manifestations from this.
That's all we
You know,
know.
and that's all we know, right? All right, so it's interesting how everything passes down through the super universe, right? It starts out here with the third order centers of Uversa, right? And it passes it down. If you can think about it, it passes down to the power centers of Nebadon. Here's Uversa. It passes it down to Nebadon power centers. You see this. Then it passes it down to the constellation centers, right? And then it passes it down to the core of, well, at first it passes it down to the core Norlatia deck, then the constellation, and then Urantia, which is our what? Our local system capital, right? And then eventually down to the planets. Okay, so once it's all the way down there to the planet, it's a pass off. If you think about it, it passes off the energy. The energy they're talking about. All these systems goes through the circuit and gets passed down from center to center. And for each stop, they have different beings for that kind of center, right? So on Salvington, they're called the Nebadon power centers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Owen. Owen's connecting to us. So let me read. This is the next paragraph. So on the Norlatia deck, what would you think they'd be called? They'd be called the Norlatia deck centers, right? Or the constellation, they'd be the constellation centers. All right. Here's another interesting slide. Super universe centers occupying an enormous area on the capital sphere of each of the 7 super universes are 1,000 power centers. There's 1,000 of these guys on Uversa, right? Of the third order, 3 currents of primary energy of 10 segregations. That becomes 30 representations of primary energy, right? We only use like one of them. Yeah, so we don't use very much. All right. 10 segregated, each come into these power centers, but 7 specialized and well-directed, though imperfectly controlled circuits of power go forth from their seat of united action. So of the 30, only 7 of them get passed down. And we use even left, right? Okay, to the planets. Okay. It says the system centers 100 supreme power centers is permanently assigned to each local system. This is coming down from Norlatia deck, right in Jerusalem. All right, 1 supreme power center is permanently assigned to each local system. These system centers dispatch the power circuits to the inhabited worlds of time and space. So they go from the system headquarters down to each planet. And we know how many planets are in our local system so far, 619, right? Makes sense? All right. All right. And this is the breakdown of all the things that's involved with this. The master physical controllers are direct offspring of the supreme power centers, and their number include associate power directors, mechanical controllers, transformers, energy transmitters, primary associators, secondary disassociators, and frandalinks and chronodex, who are gauges, basically, right? And the chronodex keep track of it, each and everything. So, okay, let's go on to the next one. The whole 100
Roger,
local
You have a
centers.
chat request or something at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
oh, I
chat
hit
with
that one.
anybody while I'm teaching. Oh, and I see you're out there, but I can't chat during a meeting. So just to let you know, I'm not ignoring you. But if you want to say something, if you've got your audio on, you're welcome to. He may not have his audio on his phone turned on. Hard to figure these things out on an Apple. It really is. I struggled with Diane's Apple or her iPad today trying to get it to work.
You want me to try and
Yeah.
pass the message on from my end?
Yeah, pass a message on that I can't text while I'm teaching. I can't.
If I
don't
can,
have
I'm
it.
going to give it a shot.
Yeah, go ahead. All right. If he has a question, he can text it to you. The one I'll answer his question, if that would help. Okay.
We can all say hello to him. Right?
Yeah, 100 power cent. Well, Gary's time to read. We'll skip over Gary and go to Rodney. Rodney, would you like to take the next one?
Yeah, I was just gonna answer that chat.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. 1-4,
The 100 local universe centers are stationed.
the 100 local universe centers are stationed on Salvington, where they function at the exact energy center of that sphere. Architectural spheres, such as Salvington, Urantia, Jerusalem, are lighted, heated, and energized by methods which make them quite independent of the suns of space. These spheres were constructed, made to order by the power centers and physical controllers, and were designed to exert a powerful influence over energy distribution. Basing their activities on such focal points of energy control, the power centers, by their living presence, directionize and channelize the physical energies of space. And these energy circuits are basic to all physical, material, and Urantia spiritual phenomena.
Okay, so these are the worlds we're going to live in when we, from the mansion world all the way up to the local universe capital in Salvington, right? And these worlds are not heated and lit by suns like our world is, right? So their heat source, their light source, everything that makes the planet comfortable for habitation come from these centers rather than planets. Okay, so it's the perfect temperature all the time, the perfect lighting. They adjust the lighting to give it an appearance of a rest period, like a night and day. So talk about perfection. All these architecture spheres are like living in heaven. That's what they are. That's our concept of heaven, right? And they are control all physical material like our worlds, and Urantia spiritual. So all the way up the different types of beings, right? All right. Here we go again. 10 supreme power centers. Lech, would you take that one?
Yes. 10 supreme power centers of the fifth order are assigned to each of Nebadon's primary subdivisions, the 100 constellations. In Norlashadek, your constellation, they are not stationed on the headquarters sphere, but are situated at the center of the enormous stellar system, which constitutes the physical core of the constellation. On Urantia, there are 10 associated mechanical controllers and 10 Frandalinks who are in perfect and constant liaison with the nearby power centers.
Okay, so this picture is trying to depict where they are in our local universe. It says on Urantia there are 10 associate mechanical controllers and 10 Frandalinks who are in perfect constant liaison by the nearby power center. So if you look at this picture right here where I've got my mouse, it says the physical center of Norlashadek, right? Our local universe. So this is where those beings would be all the time because it's the center. It's not necessarily on the system capital like Salvington, okay? And then that shows the Frandalinks and Chronodecks, they're in perfect association with them, okay? Sure.
You said our universe was Norleshadek?
Yeah.
Thought it was Nebadon.
Our local deck is, yeah, it is, but Norlashadek is our constellation, I believe it is.
Oh, the constellation, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Roger,
Did I say it? Yeah,
can I take us back one step?
yes.
You said that they read that we had 100 different sources of power or 10 different
No, there's
sources.
there's 30 different sources of power. They're grouped in 10
Okay.
each. There's 30 different types of power. And we don't use but like I think 3 of them out of the 30.
Yeah.
We don't even
and-
know about the other. Yeah.
And
We
we're
haven't even
allowed to use
discovered the
10,
other one.
right? So we
Yeah,
have
we could
10
use-
at our disposal, but we're only smart enough to use 3.
Yeah, that's because we hadn't figured out the other ones yet.
Yeah,
Right.
that's my understanding. So really, knowing this, we do not have a power shortage on our Earth. We have an ignorance shortage.
You hit it right on the head. There's always been power enough to run this planet and do everything on this planet. And the sad part is, Gary, is much of this, some of this has been discovered. Like we've got magnetic energy that has not even been, we've not even scraped the top. Yeah, not to the top. Tesla was the closest one to tackle this problem, right? He had a lot of it figured out, but the government come in and shut it all down. Now, why did they do that? Because of money.
Yeah.
You have power companies and all the economy is integrated with the power systems, the investments in power systems. People have their investments for the future into these things, just like oil and gas and all the rest of this stuff. There's power out there. Actually, if you listen to Stephen Greer, y'all know who Stephen Greer is. He's the guy that did the stuff on UFOs. He's coming out with a video in the next couple months that talks about some of these discovered energy systems that keep being bought out by different parts of the government and keep under wraps so that people won't develop them.
That's horrible. Greed.
Yeah, it's just nuts. But they are out there, and sooner or later, people are going to start developing machines. There's already some you can go out there and buy. If you're electronically smart enough, you can create your own Tesla type energy power grid and run your stuff yourself. You really can. It's just that you have to be intelligent enough to know how to put it together, how to use tools, solder things together, use the proper equipment. They're out there. There's whole neighborhoods that are run off of some of these things that Tesla came up with. All right. But it's not out there for the general public. They don't want you to publish it. And if you do try to publish it, people like that have a tendency to disappear. What's a good example of that? You remember I think it was about 5 years ago, a guy came up with a method to run cars off of water. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
he was trying to get somebody to buy it off of him, the highest bidder, while he was busy trying to get someone to buy it off of him. Guess what happened to him? Shot him. He got killed. He disappeared. Right? So that technology, even though it was out there, it's gone. Unless he gave it to somebody else and it's hidden away and they're not going to do it. See, the problem is this: when you get a new technology come out like that, Then the big oil companies come along and buy up the patents and stuff because they don't want you to get off oil. There's too much investment in it, right? And it's the same thing. That's why electric cars have been so slow to develop. That, you know, Tesla came up with the electric car back in the 20s, I think it was. And we had technology for it back then, but just like everything else, it was hidden away by the government because it would disrupt what? The oil investments. It would disrupt the oil systems. The electric power grids weren't strong enough, all this other stuff, you know? So we have the capability to do it. We just have to utilize it, you know, figure out how to use it and utilize it. If you think about it, we use 2 to 3 now. If we had all 10, we could power and feed power and everything the whole world easily. And that's one of the things Dr. Greer is coming out this video about, is it's out there. We just need to develop it, right? And get it out of the secrecy of the governments. All right.
I have
Next slide.
a comment
Yeah.
about that.
I would take us in a wrong direction. I don't want to say anything. I'll shut up.
Yeah.
Understand, Gary.
Hmm?
Yeah, we understand. And plus we gotta, you know, it's pathetic that I go right on the edge of everything. Y'all have noticed this. I still have to be careful of everything I say because they will just cut us off if I say the wrong thing, right? That's just the way it is. YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo doesn't do that. You can pretty much put whatever you want to on Vimeo, but Facebook and YouTube, if they don't like what you're saying, they will cut you off. And then we have 490 videos out there that people don't have access to anymore. You know, so I got to keep my mouth shut a lot.
Yeah.
That's just all there is to it. What you live in a free country is not really a free country right now, you know.
I had a comment about the energy systems. I once
Yeah.
did a paper about a concept called 0-point energy. And scientists are in agreement that it exists. And what it is space is not empty. It's full of particles coming in and out of existence. And that energy can be utilized. And they say that a teaspoon of that energy is enough to boil off all the oceans of the earth. And Tesla, they know that Tesla knew about it. And they're able to be developed.
Yeah. You know, it's really funny if you think about it. If you watch the Tesla information that's out there available on YouTube and other places, they literally tried to starve Tesla to death. You know, he was not in it. He was in it for the benefit of mankind. He was not in it for the money. And they tried to starve him to death. They really did, you know, and it's sad. Yeah, it's sad. It really is. Okay,
Well,
let's try to
Westinghouse had an agreement with him on a verbal basis that if he developed the electric motor, the alternating current electric motor, that he would have been, you know, very wealthy and could finance anything he wanted to.
Yeah.
And when Tesla followed through, Westinghouse says, well, this is a business lesson. Get everything in writing. Tough.
Yeah. That's right. This comes back to what? Loving one another, right? Fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. Yeah, fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. Oh, and we're out of time. I'm fixing to just rattle on and on and on. Okay, so we'll take it up on 1.5 next time. We'll read that slide next time too. I hope y'all are finding this interesting. I know it's not like some of the other papers we read, but it's good information to have to know where your origins come from, right? So, and where you live. So let's say a little prayer and we'll quit for tonight. Rodney, would you like to close us in prayer tonight? Oh, and we're glad you joined us. Yeah, go ahead and say a little prayer and we'll quit for tonight.
Heavenly Father, we're very thankful that we've had the opportunity to come together tonight to study more of the Urantia book. Roger's like a professor for us, and we very much appreciate him explaining. Some of this material is a little difficult. I, for one, have enjoyed this study on the physical aspects of the local universes. And we hope to retain some of this information so that we can share it. And we give you the praise, Father. Amen.
Amen. And thank you all for at home for joining us.
Mhm.
Let me stop the Facebook. Come see us again. We stopped the Facebook first. And stop.
You may want to leave Owen on. I don't know how he's getting in, but